Yo, DM Rodriguez here, and welcome back. Today I'm just gonna do a simple time lapse video of me coloring the Rippaverse heroes. And just to let you know, I use a mouse. I'm not using a Wacom pad. I like to import my illustration into Photoshop. And as much as I don't like digital inking or penciling because I like to have a tangible piece available. It's just in case someone wants to buy it. And I just love the tactile sensation of pencils and pens and brushes on paper. But I love digital coloring. It's maddening how much I love digital coloring. You could do so much stuff with it. Um, if I were to paint this piece, um, using traditional medium, it would be multi-layered. It would be markers, watercolors, gouache, airbrush, and that's a lot of medium and that's a lot of cleanup. So digital, in this case, does save me a lot of time. Um, the fact that I'm using a mouse is a little hindering, but I will say this: the way I use a mouse is not very clean. I do it very quickly, so it's very ugly. And I'm going to show you how ugly that can be. So let's go ahead and look at some of these layers, and you'll see I use a very simple round brush, nothing fancy. Okay, I'm just blotting colors with a round brush. You can see a round brush here and there, and I use sometimes a lasso tool, but here it's just me blotting in colors and nothing fancy, just round brush, solid. Okay, and sometimes I use a airbrush for a nice gradation because, see, look how simple. This is not me laboring over tiny details. I'm just like plop, 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 right? Erase, color, erase, both round brush, hard edge, and like I said, sometimes gradation because I think cell style coloring and soft gradation exists in nature. So yeah, it's interesting, and the line work pulls it all together. Okay, the line work is key, and I think um, good line work is important. Your line work should look good without color, and if it looks good without color, meaning your black areas, there's a balance between your black and white areas. There's no, you want to stay away from a lot of rendering, cross hatching, which can cause a gray. Right? There's a balance that you have to understand between shadow, light, and the illustration should look good without color. And if it looks good without color, then it's guaranteed to look great with color. Now, if you have like a simple line drawing with not many dark areas or spotted black areas, it's going to look like a line drawing that needs color. So I think I know what I want to do. I'm not going to say what you want to do, but what I want to do is I want to create an illustration that's going to look good in black and white as well as in color. So let's go ahead and check out the time lapse video, and I don't know, I'll figure out something to talk about while we check that out. Alright, and in this case, sometimes I usually start out with the shaded areas first and pull out the highlights, but this time I'm going for the flats, skin colors, outfit colors and so forth. As you can see right there, I'm using a round brush. If you can see it, if your eye is fast enough to catch it. I like to do the cell shading first. you know, using the lasso a lot of times to select areas. And it's basic flats. And like you've seen the layers, so they're really um, not pretty. So I'm relying a lot on the line work to keep me, you know, inside of those lines. But yeah, you've seen what it looks like without the line work, so it's not necessarily perfect. But the end result is not too bad, in my opinion. So, using special effects, um, I'm using different methods than usually. Um, in this case, this is a method where I like to choose a color for each character, which I kind of work backwards in this instance. I kind of do that later. Usually I do it first. Like I'll mask a character in a color, and each character will have a different color. But in this case here, I think I decide to mask the characters later. Like the end result is the same, so I mean, I don't know if you're better off doing it first or later. So here I'm masking this character, and he's like in a purple color. This one I'm using a blue mask, uh, and I already know what she looks like underneath all these people. So there's her silhouette, how it would look underneath, just to keep it strictly voodoo, which means in line. I'm masking this color, and he's a lighter bluish green color as I mask him, and yes, masking certain areas. It's always, I don't know if it's always different, my methods for coloring, but there's nothing wrong with switching up your methods as long as it leads to the same place, which is a finished product. Very simple methods, right? I'm not dab and erase. It's just dab and erase. I'm not spending a lot of time trying to detail something that is easy to do with the stylus on a Wacom pad. I'm using a blunt mouse, and I'm just using the easiest method with a blunt mouse, and that is dab, erase. And of course, the layer instances, multiply, screen, and all that stuff, which gives beautiful effects that you would have to really plan out if you were painting this piece traditionally. And I'm not using the undo a lot. I think with coloring, you might use the undo button a lot less than if you are sketching or compositing a piece, which I think is okay. I think your eraser is fine. I use a layer method traditionally using a light box to change rather than undo. It's the same thing. It's very similar in how it works, except the difference is you have an actual tangible piece you can hold in your hand, and if you want later on, you can sell it, which, you know, it's a one-of-a-kind piece as opposed to a digital file which can be printed several times, and no one actually really owns the original piece. I don't know how NFTs work. I believe it's a scam, and I think it's a lot of it's used to launder money, which is something my man Ben Dunn um, mentioned as far a couple videos ago. And yeah, shout outs to Chad in Amsterdam. Me and Chad are cooking up something, right? And I just want to tell you right now, we're about to show you guys how superhero comic books are done. All right, I'm just giving you a little sneak, uh, not a preview, but just a lookout for. And yeah, look out for that because yeah, we're gonna show you how it's done. And I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of the Rippaverse. All I can say to Eric D. July is Excelsior. You keep doing what you're doing, man. I think it's an important thing that he's doing as far as the comic book industry is concerned, because it needed to be done. Believe me, if I had the type of income that he was able to pull in based on his opinions in his YouTube channel to do what he's doing right now, I would totally have done it. And I'm just glad that someone did. Because I think it's important that, establishments, industries are challenged. I think that's what keeps things moving forward, so as not to stagnate on any particular. And I think a lot of you would agree with me that certain companies have done that, and in doing so have ignored the primary audience that has been there, the loyal audience that has been there since the beginning. Now, I will always say that comic books are for kids. So, it's interesting to me the content that they publish is more of an adult nature. And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as they're being sold to adults, I got no problem with it. I think superheroes are supposed to be idealized characters. They're not supposed to be like human beings. The first person I think they made realistically was Peter Parker by Stan Lee, and I think that was an amazing change, paradigm shift as far as the way superheroes were written and looked upon. And I understand that's, you don't want your characters too far removed from humanity, otherwise they're kind of like Superman. So it's like no vulnerabilities, and that's low stakes. And I think people who like to read comic books, they want to read adventures and they want to root for the hero because he's between a rock and a hard place. If you know your hero is always going to win, he's always going to have the advantage, it can get boring. So, yeah, just think about it on in that way. But yeah, there's the finished piece right there, and hope you enjoyed that method of coloring. Hopefully you could have followed it by eye, and I hope I did a well enough job explaining my methods of coloring. And yeah, having said that, I will see you soon. And I'm about to get back to work, so peace.